What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another primary source walkthrough. This time, we are going to be diving into the Alien and Sedition Acts, passed by the United States Congress in 1798. These are some rather controversial pieces of legislation that come out of John Adams' administration, and they speak to a simmering tension within the United States. And following Washington's farewell address, a lot of this has to do with political party, political faction running a bit amok in the early republic. So we have a bunch of stuff that we need to consider here. This these acts, I should say, um, intersect a lot of interesting political points. They call into question, I think, the revolutionary aspect of the American Revolution. They and I think the American people at the time see that too, and they'll do something about it 2 years later. In any case, they speak to that kind of questioning of the nature of the revolution. They speak to immigration and anxieties over immigration, and the role of the press as well. There's uh, some really interesting stuff here. So let's set the stage a little bit. So if you've read Chapter 8 of Eric Foner, you know about the goings on of the early part of the Adams administration, particularly something called the XYZ affair. And basically, to summarize the XYZ affair and the quasi war with France, France embarrasses the United States. We send ambassadors. Um, they want an alliance with us and a formal alliance against Britain, and basically, uh, France won't see Adams' ambassadors, but Jefferson sends his own, and they will see him, and then all of this gets published in the press, and I mean, a lot of people start calling for war with France. Now, when I say a lot of people, what I mean is the Federalist Party is really upset with France, and they seem to be more accepting of Britain, who the Democratic Republicans, not to be confused with the current political party, um, they side more with France, including Jefferson, who's basically the head of their party. Um, so, because of Washington's statement of neutrality during his administration, the United States has been kind of trying to figure out, to walk this thin line between Britain and France and not pissing one off. And now here's France being jerks to us, and the Federalists are pissed. The Democratic Republicans think it's hilarious, and everyone's embarrassed. So what Adams does is he tries to limit the arrival of radicals, particularly from France, with the Alien Act, and then he's going to he's going to punish anyone who publishes things that are detrimental in his mind to the United States government, which means the Federalist Party platform, which means if you're a Democratic Republican, you are in a little bit of trouble. So let's jump into the laws. We're going to start with the Alien Act, and there's a lot of legal language here, and there's the sentences are really really long. So let's break it down. So the President of the United States, at any time during the continuance of this act, to order, and it will be lawful for the president to order such aliens as he shall judge dangerous to the peace and safety of the United States, or shall have reasonable grounds to suspect are concerned in any treasonable secret machinations, plotting against the government thereof, he can kick them out. That's what he said. He can deport any person, any non-citizen who is dangerous or is plotting against the United States. If that can be shown, you can kick him out. Now, if the immigrant, the non-citizen who has been deported sticks around and doesn't have a license from the president himself to stay, then he can be imprisoned for 3 years. And he gives a little bit of language for how a license can be obtained and why he has the power to grant it. In Section 2 of the Alien Act, it shall be lawful for the president, whenever he may deem it necessary for the public safety, to order to be removed out of the territory thereof any alien, any non-citizen who may or shall be imprisoned in the pursuance of this act. So if there are any non-citizens currently in prison or have been convicted or whatever, they have to leave. He can deport any of those who he's allowed to in Section 1, but also he can find people and arrest them and deport them under these acts. Section 3 is more about incoming ships. So any ship commander, any master or commander of a vessel has to report any non-citizen aboard their vessel and specify their name, their age, their place of birth, what country they come from, what their nationality is, who they owe allegiance to, etc. And if they don't, there are penalties, $300, and the vessel can also be held. And also the collector of this information has to report this to the State Department. Sections 4 and 5 you can read through carefully. It's about mostly what rights or what other rights people don't have. I think Section 5 is a little interesting. That it shall be lawful for any alien who may be ordered to be removed from the United States by virtue of this act to take with him such part of his goods, chattels, or other property as he may find convenient, and all property left in the United States by any alien who may be removed as aforesaid shall be and remain subject to his order and disposal in the same manner as if this act had not been passed. So, this has something to do with slavery, and you should be thinking about that. In any case, let's go on to the Sedition Act. The Sedition Act, in some ways, is... I think we would have a harder time with this in 2020 than we would with the Alien Act. In fact, the current presidential administration has appealed to the Alien Act in its legal proceedings from time to time. That's a whole bag of worms that take 1302, and you'll learn a little bit more about that. Now, with the Sedition Act, this gets really sticky because we're going to be seeing kind of some rewriting of the American Revolution here. And this kind of goes along with what I was saying earlier, that this is kind of calling into question the revolutionary nature of our war for independence. So, Section 1 of the Sedition Act says that if any persons unlawfully combine or conspire together with intent to oppose any measure or measures of the government of the United States, which are or shall be directed by proper authority, or to impede the operation of any law, or to prevent any person holding a place or office in the government, or prevent people from performing or executing their office or whatever, if they advise any insurrection, riot, unlawful assembly, or combination, whatever, they are going to be punished by a fine not exceeding $5,000 and by an imprisonment at least 6 months, all the way up to 5 years. Now, insurrection, riot, unlawful assembly, preventing people from executing the duties of their office, opposing the government, wasn't that exactly what the American revolutionaries were doing against the crown? All of these things. And I think, Jefferson is definitely going to hit back at this. I think that this is completely a betrayal of the spirit of the American Revolution, at least as put forward by those who were most involved in things like the Second Continental Congress and like the Sons of Liberty, etc. We did all of these things to Britain, and we called it the most glorious moment in the history of mankind, and now we've made it illegal. Or Adams has made it illegal. He goes on and he says, look, if you are going to print things, write things, publish things, give speeches against the government, and, it's false, scandalous, malicious, against the government, etc., you can be punished for it. What are you going to be punished with? $2,000 and prison up to 2 years. It's right down here at the bottom. That's, again, one of the ways in which the American Revolution was successful was the passing of pamphlets around like Thomas Paine's Common Sense, and newspapers were critical in spreading ideas. And here, what Adams is doing is he's quashing all of that. He's saying, no, we don't want that. If it's against our government, then no. So, and quite frankly, if you remember, part of the First Amendment of the Constitution to the United States is freedom of the press, not to be encumbered by the government. And that's exactly what is happening here. So we're violating quite a bit. He also goes on a little bit about rules of the jury. He says, the jury who shall try the cause shall have a right to determine the law and fact under the direction of the court, as in other cases. So it's a matter of a jury trial. So at least we're keeping that around. But this should really make you stop and think about the power that the federal government now has to put down any sense of rebellion or dissent. And this is why I think Thomas Jefferson in 1800, just 2 years later, is going to win the presidency pretty handily against Adams, because he's able to marshal this spirit of the revolution against actions like this. And in fact, this is partly why historians have referred to Jefferson's election as the Revolution of 1800. In any case, let's go ahead and stop there. Read the section of Chapter 8 on the Alien and Sedition Act, of course, but the Adams administration in particular for a few more contextual details. If you have any questions about the Alien and Sedition Act, or have any concerns about how you might use this in an upcoming essay, feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to answer your questions. Hope you all are doing well and staying healthy, and I will see you on the next one.